Then we will transition to our top three greatest defensive fighters of all time. Also brought up by one of our commenters named Tyranno Titan. So I'm shouting you out. Leave a comment, guys. Let us know which topics you guys want us to talk about, and we'll do that. So let's go right into the jump. What is your number three most defensive fighter of all time?
I think that my number three,
Yeah.
and I admired this guy from day one, and I went against my people to say no. He won. Is
Yeah.
Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker. He
Right.
was
Right.
my best defensive fighter ever. You know, even today's boxers have considered him now, man. When it comes to defensive, defense is Sweet Pea Whitaker. He, in my
Yeah.
opinion, and I don't care if it costs, all these haters, coming at me, but I got him beating Oscar de la Hoya. I had him beating Julio Cesar Chavez, in my
Wow.
opinion. He
Right.
he was one of the best defensive fighters. It was just so hard to hit him. His awkward style. He dominated. He was, just the top of the line defensive fighters of all time for me. He is my top. My number three is Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker.
I have him here on my list, and I'm gonna kick him out because you got him in there. All right.
Yeah. All right.
But dang. So now I'm gonna have to go off the top of my head. But yes, Sweet Pea Whitaker, bro. That hurt me. We had an episode on the greatest robberies of all
Yeah.
time. He was on
Yeah.
there. And I remember that night. I was with my tios and my uncles, same thing. And we were there at an outside barbecue watching.
You had to admit
Chavez.
it, right? You had to admit
Yeah.
it.
Well, here was the funny thing, bro. There were like I remember it was one of those neighborhoods where there was mechanics always outside, playing banda music and drinking Coronas all night long, barbecuing every single day. And we were watching the fight, and bro, you could hear a pin drop the entire 12 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just your onda, your gente, your people, my people just watching their boxing god just have no answers for Sweet Pea Whitaker. I do have a theory though, and I brought this up on that episode. The times that Chavez did connect, I honestly think, this is a hot take, that they were effective to where Whitaker had never been hit like that. The very few times. And I actually think, we just talked about with Roy Jones Jr. how he aged overnight. I think that took a toll. I think the emotional loss to Cesar
Yeah,
draw to
I
Cesar
agree.
Chavez,
I agree.
and he was just never the same anymore. I actually have De La Hoya beating Whitaker. I guess we'll do an
Wow.
episode on
Okay.
that.
We got to do that.
Yeah, maybe. And I haven't seen that fight in 20 years.
Yeah. I got Whitaker winning that fight, but go ahead.
I just think that fight took the emotional part of his soul, and I think the very few effective shots that Chavez had on Whitaker, because you talk to any boxer, even Floyd, Roger Mayweather, who fought him, never been hit like the way he got hit by Chavez, even on a lesser punch that most boxers would be like, that's nothing, was very effective. And I kind of think that a little bit of Whitaker's soul was taken that night. So that's my hot take for your number three.
Well, I think his soul was taken by the judgment of the fight.
That too, of course.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Go ahead. What's your?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The judgment took the emotional part, and I think he had never been hit like that. The very few times that Chavez did connect, and it kind of slowed down his defensive skills. But I'm with you, dude.
Yeah,
definitely worthy of top three. I had him number two, but I'll kick him out for you.
So who's your number three?
My number three, bro. I'm thinking about making a switch. I'm gonna go with. Hey guys, Trey here. If you love today's controversial episode and you want to see our channel grow, please drop a like, subscribe, and also comment. Sam and I are always going back and forth with those commenters on our controversial topics and opinions, and we love it so much. So go ahead and hit that like button. hit that subscribe, most importantly, so our channel can grow and we can give you guys the best content as possible. Sam and I were always uploading multiple videos a week, and we want to continue doing that, and we need your help. So go ahead and subscribe, guys. And most importantly, like I always say, don't forget to stick and move, baby. Wilfredo Benitez, bro.
Wow. Okay. You got to give
Dude,
me a history lesson on this. But go ahead.
dude. Well, welterweight, super welterweight. He did not back down from anybody, bro.
Yeah.
He reminded me of actually, when I would watch him, I would remember thinking like you remember those old footages of Muhammad Ali leaning on the rope and just dancing his head while boxers are just moving the complete time, like every single time they just couldn't connect with Muhammad Ali. Dude, Wilfredo also did that. He took down. I mean, he had the unanimous decision over Duran. And dude, we did a whole episode. One of our most hottest episodes is Floyd versus the Four Kings. And one of the things we always talked about were boxers back then always breaking to the guard. Like they didn't fear any jab or hooks. Wilfredo Benitez is a great example of being a boxer that also has a great defense, phenomenal head movement, his generalship in the ring to where he can expose the space. He was just a hard target to hit. And believe me, bro, this was a hard one for me, because of the whole Mexican-Puerto Rican boxing rivalry. But I have to put it where it is. I mean, he was that classic boxer puncher. And he loved to use the ropes for his defense. He would purposely sacrifice his body. And for some reason, boxers just couldn't connect. They couldn't even hit his torso. They couldn't hit his face. It was a beautiful display of defense that he did numerous times. And when I hadn't seen any of his fights in about a couple, like 10 years until we started redoing this podcast, when I would watch his old YouTube stuff back then. And I started doing it, started rewatching him again recently. And it's just next level genius. It's kind of like everybody else was on slow motion when he fought.
Okay.
And so that is my number 3. That's who
That's
I got.
good. That's a good pick.
Yeah, man. So, all right, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Muhammad Ali.
Ooh, talk to me.
Muhammad Ali with the rope-a-dope, with pairing the punches,
Right.
just with his head movement, his foot movement, to dodge punches, to not take a lot of hits. I mean, what he does. I mean, look, Muhammad Ali's career, the way he defeated George Foreman, the way he fought Kid Norton, the way he fought Joe Frazier, the way he fought all these guys was all about defense.
Right.
How did he beat George Foreman?
Right.
By dodging all those punches, rope-a-dope. The guy became a champion because of his defense.
Right.
I mean, the guy would tire people out, and the way he would dodge, the way he would use the ring, the way he would duck and move, and just, I mean, his defense was, I mean, people today, boxers that are learning how to box today, that want to learn their defense are learning from what Muhammad Ali did in the past. For me, Muhammad Ali, in my top 3, he's my number 2, the best defenses I've ever seen. And he's won championships because of that defense. It was just,
I'll say this.
It was just, the way he did it was just great.
I'll say this, bro. He evolutionized the foot movement defense. And I say that unapologetically. Most people associate foot movement with offense.
Yeah.
When he was at that time, they were usually flat-footed boxers, lean forward, lean on you kind of boxers, fighting a phone booth kind of boxers. Because of his foot movement, his ability to waltz around the ring, while everybody else was just stomping on the ring. Confused a lot of boxers. You ever watch his early
Exactly.
on fight? His early fights, like against Floyd Patterson and Sonny Liston, all these other guys that were just that standard brutal maulers. When he started moving his feet around the ring, you can
That was his
actually see them.
defense.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
can actually see them like trying to calculate the steps, taking the focus off of the defender or the offense, the guy they're trying to go after, and just be totally obliterated by Muhammad Ali's to be able to stick and move, man. I love your pick for number 2. He is also on my list, so I'm gonna take him out of there, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on little names I have written on the side. I'm not gonna roll off the top of my head, but dude, honestly, bro, Muhammad Ali, man, totally underrated.
Yeah,
I think people,
exactly.
I think people or confuse defense a little bit. I think people tend to think that if you're sacrificing body punches, like when he was doing the rope a dope, that's not really defense. It's just you being able to take a punch. And I think the opposite, man. I think you know your strengths, you know what you can handle, and I think sacrificing certain body parts is managing your defense very well. In for instance, like in the rope a dope. So yeah, man, I'm cool with that right there, brother.
So who's your number 2?
I'm gonna go old school, and when I say old school, I'm talking about old
Old
school, and
school.
I'm going Jack Dempsey, brother. Jack Dempsey, man. I've been watching film a lot lately, and I remember my uncle and my dad. Just even in media back in the '90s, always talking. I always see people wearing Jack Dempsey shirts, and I was always curious. And then when the internet started coming around in the '90s and 2000s, I would research him, and I remember, and I just like, wow, this guy was a legend, dude. This guy was the heavyweight champ from 1919 to 1926. And the reason why I bring him into this is because back then, when they were fighting that Irish style like this, he was actually doing the defense. He did a little bit of Philly shell, and he also did a lot of the bob and weave, like lean forward. That famous video of Canelo defending every shot by Josh Jacobs. I'm sorry, by what's his name?
Daniel Jacobs. Yeah.
By Daniel Jacobs. Sorry, football's on
Mhm.
my mind. Uh, he did that. You could argue. You could say that he arguably evolutionized the defensive game, which was why he went so long as the heavyweight champ. And here's some other cool stats that I learned about him from 1917 to 1918. This is before he was the heavyweight champ. Bro, he fought in almost 30 fights, bro. Only losing twice, if I'm not mistaken. And those 2 fights he avenged. Imagine fighting 30 times in 2 years. By the way, I think I'm
Wow.
lowballing it. I think it's about 30 to 35. I could be off on that. But dude, he I mean, this is an example of you and I've talked about this before where boxers back then, this was their meal ticket. I mean, this was their job. This is the only thing they had to do. So they boxed every other week. I was looking at his schedule, and there were times he fought every other week. Now,
There
for
were,
any
yeah,
boxer,
yeah.
that's just a different time, man. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just that's the problem with today's boxing
Hmm.
is that they're getting paid millions of dollars and they only fight once a year.
Right.
So, I understand what you're saying.
It's so interesting because when he was working himself up to heavyweight champ in 1919, 1920, he fought almost every week. Once he became champ, he started fighting maybe once or twice a year. It's kind of like he saw the big picture and he started slowing down, kind of evolutionizing what we see
Yeah.
today from our boxers nowadays, where they kind of like, all right, let's hold the brakes. I want to hold my belt as long as possible. So, but anyways, back to his defense. Bro, he was doing that bob and weaving defense face forward before any of those boxers did back in that time. So that is my number 2, man.
Wow.
So
Good, good, good.
what is your number 1?
My number one defensive fighter, boxer of all time, in my opinion,
Hmm.
um, is Mayweather. I
Yeah,
mean,
same
it's
here. So we both got
yeah,
the same number one.
yeah, it's Floyd. The way he can move around and duck the punches. It's his defensive skills, man.
Hmm.
That's why he's undefeated. I mean, the guy knows how to get away, get around, and he uses his head movement. He uses his footwork. He knows how to dodge. He knows how to move, and he knows when to stick, and he knows when to move. It's just that's Mayweather. I mean, any boxer that has fought him, of course, they lost. Any fighter that has fought him has said it's hard to hit him. It's
Hmm.
too difficult. I mean, the guy
Right.
is, he's a cobra, man.
Right.
And Mayweather is, it's rare. Like the bloodiest fight that I've seen Mayweather in was versus Cotto.
Right.
That's
Right. Right.
that's the bloodiest fight I've ever seen him in. And then after Cotto, it'll probably have to be when he fought Castillo. When I think he lost to Castillo in the first fight.
Right.
But
Right.
other than that, nobody has come close to hurting him. That punch that Mosley threw that got it, kind of knocked him down a little, but not really. It's just, dude, that's like seeing Bigfoot. It's rare. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That's like seeing Bigfoot. It is rare. To
Hmm.
see Mayweather get hurt, to get hit. Mayweather for me, he is the best defensive fighter I've ever seen in my life. That's why a lot of people got him as the greatest defensive fighter of all time. They don't want to give him the title as being the greatest boxer, but I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. He's undefeated, man. Nobody's found the
Yeah.
answer. He's timed
Right.
people out. You can make the argument, oh, the Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather was 7 years too late, blah blah blah. Whatever. You could use any excuse you want, but you know what, bro? He's undefeated.
Right.
To hit him was already a task itself. Just
Right.
to hit him. He's my
Hmm.
number one defensive fighter, boxer of all times.
Well, look, here's something that I have a number one also. Here's something he doesn't get enough credit for. His transition from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather was night and day for me. You know, was he a more entertaining fighter as Pretty Boy Floyd?
Yes.
100%
Yes.
times 500. That Pretty Boy Floyd, in my opinion, would have done a
Shoo.
little bit better against the 1980 Kings. A little
Yes.
bit better. Because he
Yes.
didn't mind. And I honestly think Mayweather has an underrated chin that nobody talks about.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah.
yes, that Mayweather, I mean, I'm sorry, that Mosley jab that connected, that was great. But that Maidana one was, I thought that should have knocked down, that probably would have knocked down 90% of all boxers.
Yeah.
And he almost did. He got wobbled on that one. And of course, Castillo laid a couple of good ones too. But dude, we're only talking about a handful of punches and even less that are memorable in his entire, well, he's still fighting over 25 plus year career.
People can't catch him. They can't catch him,
Yeah.
bro.
Yes, look, I said it before. He has the greatest flinch I've ever seen in my life. Coincidentally, along with Roy Jones Jr. I think they have the two greatest shoulder flinches. What I just did right now is comical, but imagine that times 1 billion. But
Yeah.
dude, that shoulder flinch that he has, the Philly shell, the shoulder roll, the people like to call it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he brought it to he made the Philly shell look undestructible when people thought that they already had the code. I remember when Chavez cracked the code against Roger Mayweather. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you just body punch him to death, and eventually you hit him with the body, they're gonna loosen up the guard and you can slip in there. That's what Chavez was good at. Although Canelo was a young bug, I don't really count that. But even against heavy-handed fighters, they just couldn't get that clean shot on him. And I don't know, man. I think he doesn't get enough credit for his transition from Pretty Boy to Money Mayweather. But you know, that last half of his career where he was untouchable, you know, you can't argue it. You just can't.
No, no. He's one of the greatest boxers in our generation or forever, all time so far.
Right, right, right. All right, man. So we will leave it at that. I'll give you the last word. Any last parting shots you got?
Yeah, I just want to let the fans know that if there's something that, a match or a fighter, a boxer they want us to talk about, where, I'm down, man.
Yeah.
It could be UFC, boxing, whatever it is, we can make an episode out of it, and thanks for
Yeah.
all the likes and the comments.
Yeah. If you guys have any ideas for top threes, like Tyrino Titan gave us for this episode, go ahead and put them in the comments, guys. Make sure you like us, you subscribe to us, and just keep on leaving those comments, guys. And like always, don't forget to stick and move, baby.
I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I